So moving even further towards the delivery aspect. Normally, I would take a break and ask you completely different. I would change the topic completely, but I'm going to wait until after this question to change the topic. But
Okay.
what is one thing you do after a session? You've done the editing, everything's all good to go. What is one thing you do after a session that has increased business?
That is increased business. Oh man, I feel like there's a few things. So, um, I deliver all of my images through Pixie Set. So I think that most people can probably relate to this. If you deliver images in any way that's not a USB key, if you deliver images in an online gallery of sorts. So there's a couple of things that I like to do after a session to make sure that people like me essentially, which is how make sure that people, tell people about me and it increases my business. But one of them is that I try to deliver previews quickly back to my clients. Most of my clients have it included in their wedding day package, um, which is something that I added on out of necessity because a few years ago, it was probably the first time that people were ever expecting to see photos within a day or two after
Mm.
a shoot or a wedding. And, photographers are posting online sneak peeks. And I was like, how are you doing that? Like, you must have nothing going on within a couple of days after these shoots. So then you, of course, get clients saying, hey, can I have photos a couple of days after the wedding? And if everybody else in their hemisphere is getting their photos back or some photos back within a couple of days after, then I'm looking like I don't care enough or I'm too busy
Yeah.
for them or whatever, right? So I did want to include it in my packages in my more like popular packages to provide some value to it, to show people that like it does pull me out of my regular workflow to create preview images for you right away. Um, and then for the people that booked like a smaller package, I had it as an add on that they could add on. So those people were less likely, if they did only book me for a smaller package, they were much less likely to bug me the next day saying, hey, when are our photos going to be ready? Because they know that it's a thing that they could have purchased. In the end, I still try to provide people with some previews really quickly if possible. Obviously, that's changed now that I can do that like almost instantly without too much stress. Like I do a lot of
Yeah.
back-to-back weddings. So the idea of like shooting a wedding on a Friday and a Saturday and then having like 2 to 5 family sessions on a Sunday and somehow getting previews back to the Friday and Saturday people without like losing my mind. Before that was insane. I still did it, but it was insane. But delivering previews to people really quickly is a really huge thing. And then the other thing, delivering a really nicely curated gallery, I think is so important. I think that photographers have the tendency to over deliver images
Mm.
and to deliver like everything they think is fine. So they'll deliver 5 images that are really too similar to each other and put the onus on their client to decide which one is the better image. And I personally feel like if your client has to go between, oh, is it this one or this one, this one or this one, like we've done them a disservice. Mirrorless cameras have made that really hard though, because you can shoot so many
Yeah.
really good in focus images really, really quickly, um, which means that you have to do an even better job on your call. But delivering a really nicely curated gallery in the end, breaking it up into sections that make it really easy to digest. So I do like part one, two, and three. So I'm not dividing them up into like getting ready, you know, different sections of the day. Some people do that. That's totally fine. I just find like part one, two, and three works for me and it makes it easier to digest. Um, and then in my final template email, I think the final template email gets like the final delivery email. I call it a template, but because I template all of my. If I can make it a template, it's going to be a
Yeah.
template.
Of course.
Um, but if in that final delivery email, I think there's a few things that are really important to say. One of them is like you pump their tires and say like, "I loved your wedding day. It was so fun for me." And then you say something specific like, your first dance. I like still am thinking about the song you chose. So sweet, right? You say something really nice.
Mhm.
um, then you tell them, how to download their images, how to make favorites, how to like you make it easy for them. And then you ask for the review. And I think it's so often overlooked to ask for a review. This is the time when people want to give you a review. They're like in awe. They're looking at your photos and they're like, this is crazy. I can't believe you did this for us. So I send that ask in the preview delivery that I send and in the final delivery. So it's like a double parted reminder. And I have a lot of really good reviews because of that. So yeah, I think it's so important about being intentional about every single step of
Yeah.
like the delivery and how people get images. And also just waiting the right amount of time. You know, I think we talked about this on our like live roundtable. Um, if I deliver images too quickly, there is something to be said for like all of the images too quickly. There's something to be said for people being like, what's the value here? What did you
Right,
just
yeah,
pay for?
did you care enough?
Did you care?
Yeah, yeah,
And also I think it's just too fresh in their minds. Even if they believe I literally dropped everything from the second that their wedding ended until the time I delivered it, which sometimes like maybe they do believe that. Even if they believe that I just edited straight through for 1 week, um, I think that it's still too fresh in their minds, and people need to have a little bit of, um, they need to miss their wedding a little bit more in order to really
yeah,
truly appreciate the value. You know, we as photographers know that the images we deliver increase in value over time. My wedding photos mean more to me now than they did the day that they were shot for many reasons. You know, my family photos from 10 years ago mean more to me now than they did 10 years ago. We know that, but our
mhm.
clients don't necessarily know that, so I think giving them a little bit of breathing room to really feel like, "Wow, that was such a special day," and, like, "Look at these photos that document, like, way more and way better than I could have ever expected that they would."